digital marketing for HVAC and home service businesses.
Strategies and stories from industry experts to help you succeed.
Quinten, welcome to the OUTWORK'em podcast. It's awesome to be here with you today. I was introduced to Quinten by a mutual friend of ours named Tanner. So, as always, I have my network of friends, family, clients to thank for introducing me to great people like you. How's it going today?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's going good. Can't complain. It's end of a nice week here in Pittsburgh, Friday afternoon, so can't complain.
Nice. So Quinten is the founder of Q&A Landscaping out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And today we're going to have a conversation about his business, his favorite types of work to do, and we're also going to share some insights about how he got started and how he achieved the level of success he has with his business. What made me most excited to have him on the podcast today was actually his website. He has a really, really nice setup on his website, great content. The photos are awesome. His work looks really good. And whenever I'm looking for guests for the podcast, that's the first thing I see. How are they presenting online? How are their photos? And I love to shine the light on people's strengths and also allow our listeners to be encouraged, because a lot of our listeners are other entrepreneurs looking for insights from industry experts. And then also this is a great platform for you to speak about your services and tell everyone what you're excited to work on, what the best jobs are for you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to get into it.
Nice. So starting off here, would love a little bit of the story, how you got started, and what twists and turns might have happened. I'll leave it to you as how much detail you want to color in there. I'll probably ask some questions about what I'm curious about along the way.
Yeah, Q&A Landscaping started when we were in high school. Me and my friend Anthony, my business partner still today, were cutting grass kind of separately as kids growing up. And when we could drive, we started doing it together. He lived in one area of our school district. I lived in the other. So we started kind of doing that together, just passing out flyers, cutting people's grass after school, doing some normal landscape stuff that, I think anybody in the landscape industry would kind of logically progress to, maybe doing some mulching and planting and different little jobs like that. We did that all through like the back half of high school, so kind of like junior year, senior year, and kind of kept doing it through college as a way to try to pay for some school. We both went to Pitt nearby, so it was easy to kind of come home on the days you didn't have class and cut grass and do some different stuff like that. So we kind of did that through the 4 years of college, and truthfully didn't really think at that point that was something we were going to do forever. I don't think really up until that point we had thought it was something we would continue. It was something we were doing during school, but not necessarily something we were going to continue forever. And by the end of college, our business had grown enough to the point where it seemed a little more reasonable to do so. I had an office job after school for a little bit. I wasn't an accountant. I really only stayed there for about 6 months for the one winter. And as things were warming back up later in that spring, I realized, I'd much rather be working outside and doing the business that I had grown over the years. We were maybe 6 years into it or so at that point, and I just graduated from college. So I did quit my job and kind of just started doing this full time, and decided, it was something we were going to continue. And,
awesome. Can I ask a question real quick there?
Yeah, for sure.
So in college, you kept it rolling. Were you all tracking your numbers? Like, I know you said around when you were getting out of college, you started to see I'm in a mastermind right now, and one of the people in the mastermind, he actually just crossed 7 figures in his business, and he's a junior in college. So he started a marketing agency to fund his college, and to, instead of getting a job while he's in college, to make his own money. And he, I've been seeing his journey. It's been awesome. So hearing about you running your business, I mean, in Pittsburgh, landscaping in the summer, were you tracking your numbers, and do you have any benchmarks that you could share with us about what you were able to achieve while in college and starting the business there?
Yeah, for sure. Each year we were able to grow a little bit during college. Not put a ton of time into it. We were in that 100,000 to maybe 200,000 in revenue phase. I would say during those years, maybe that's kind of right around where we got to by the end of college.
Awesome.
It was enough that it was, money to pay for some school. It was better than getting a job at school or something like that.
Yeah.
Not maybe enough that you're thinking that it's something you're going to continue forever, but it was enough that it was worth doing for some money for school. It was hard at that point because, if you weren't in it forever, how much did you want to invest? And that was some of what was holding us back, because it wasn't like I wanted to buy, dump trucks and lawnmowers and everything I could with the money, because I wasn't in this forever. But once we were committed to this, our mindset changed. We started to buy dump trucks and machinery and equipment, and 10 dump trucks later, and it was worth it. And but in the beginning, when we weren't all in, it wasn't that easy to make some of those decisions while we were in school.
Yeah, totally makes sense. All right, so thanks for coloring that part in there. Love to hear about the beginning launch. So okay, you're working your job. You said about 6 months in accounting, and then you're like, all right, maybe let's go into this and look at this as a long-term project, long-term investment.
One of the things that really spurred it was a lot of my coworkers were starting to buy nice cars and nice things with our paychecks. We were all college kids, and you start to get, a continuous paycheck. And so kids start coming to work talking about, the car they bought or different things. And I realized, well, I could probably go buy a dump truck with that same credit. And so I did. Right before I quit my job, I went and bought a brand new dump truck and used my pay stubs to get the Q&A's first dump truck. That way it was like a good start. But that was, one of the pivotal moments of deciding we were all into this and being able to invest more and kind of level up.
What year was that?
That was probably 2017, I would say. So maybe about 8 years ago.
First dump truck, 2017. There you go. Trading those pay stubs for dump trucks.
Yeah, it was a good move looking back on it, but over the past 8 years, we've grown a lot, bought a lot of different equipment, and leveled up the projects and different things that we've been able to do. Over the years, we've kind of got into bigger projects and better ideas of things we could be doing for money. With that same landscape equipment, we did sell all of our lawns a couple years ago and got out of the weekly lawn care and different things that had kind of helped us grow our business, but they weren't things that we were interested in doing long term. We were more interested in putting our people and equipment towards some of the projects and different things we'd been doing, as opposed to the maintenance and the mowing.
Awesome. And so you said a few years ago. No, was it? You said a few years ago you got rid of the lawns, or a few months ago?
A few years ago. I guess probably right about 2019. I think we sold lawns. 2019 was the year that was one of the best decisions we had ever made, was deciding to get out of the lawn care aspect of our business. It really added a lot of a time constraint service to it, where somebody has a birthday party and you got to make sure the lawn's cut before the birthday party, or it's the end of the world, or it rains every day that week, and all of a sudden you guys are working on the weekends to cut these lawns, and the projects aren't as time sensitive, and it was really nice to kind of get away from the lawns and the continuous repetitive aspect of that. Yeah.
And the timing was probably unbelievable, because COVID was shortly after that, and I know a lot of people invested in improving their outdoor living space with spending more time at home, and y'all were probably positioned really well to take advantage of that and capitalize on the opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. It did work out well. I think we got out maybe 2 years before COVID, and it definitely allowed us to have more capacity to take on projects and other higher margin items, and focus on the things we wanted to do and doing them well, as opposed to doing things because we felt like we had to.
Yeah. And so you talked about reinvesting into equipment. How about marketing? I see your website has quite the build out of content. Was your investment into your online infrastructure kind of paired with when you got the dump truck, or how has that all come together? That's the most interesting aspect of everything for me.
Yeah, the website has been a journey. There's been some different steps along the way. In the beginning, it started in the first year we bought that dump truck with just like a standard Wix site that I made myself, and it looked pretty, but it was technically not very good. It didn't have all the different keywords and coding and different things like that. Wix will allow you to make something that looks attractive, but at the end of the day, it performed poorly. And so when I created this myself, not knowing any better, I thought it was really good. And it was pretty good at the time compared to most of the competition, just because I truly believe that 8 or 9 years ago, a lot of the people in the home service space had a website that was pretty poor or very outdated. Most of the guys that had been around in our industry, the bigger guys who were more established, they had created a website at one point and put almost no effort into updating it. And the effort they did in the initial build was minimal. There wasn't good pictures. There was not a lot of effort. And so quickly, the site I built looked a lot better than all of those sites. And over the years, I put the time into trying to make it a little bit better. A couple years into it, I realized the site I built was only going to get me so far, and I really wanted to get to the next level where not only did I have a site that looked great and looked better than my competitor's site, but that it actually outranked them and I was showing up over them. And so that's when I found a new marketing firm to work with, just so that I could get a new site built just for this purpose of, being a excellent SEO ranked site that was built with that in mind, as opposed to my way of just trying to make some things look good. And that was really when we got to the next level of our online presence, was when we started the fresh build of our site. For the first maybe 2 years, we had the Wix site, and I realized it's time to start again and really go into this. And that was, maybe about 4 years ago now, that we really got into rebuilding the site in an excellent way.
Wow.
All along over the
So whenever you say you had your Wix site and you realized it was only going to get you so far and you wanted to get to the next level, you mentioned rankings and things like that. Was there anything else, like when you were saying get to the next level, were you tracking your rankings, your return on investment, and all that stuff with your old Wix site?
We were tracking some of our keyword rankings. We were seeing some of the traffic. I was seeing that it wasn't there, I guess. I was seeing that, I was getting a lot of a lot of traffic where they were specifically looking for us, but I wasn't getting a lot of traffic that was just, keyword focused and stumbling upon me. And so I really wanted to improve that. And as I learned more and more about the industry from talking to different people in the space selling, marketing and SEO services, I realized that, I was missing out on value to be captured from my website, that I really wanted to start to allocate, some money towards rebuilding the website and putting it back into SEO, so that was more of an investment and less of a cost. Because it really was turning into, spending money on marketing through different channels like Google Ads or Facebook or any kind of print ads. That stuff is all necessary and good. But if you would take a little bit of that money that you were putting towards that and spend it on, SEO and really developing a presence online, and that's money that I believe that even after you spent it, you were still reaping the rewards. And so it was a lot easier to start to, view that as an investment and allocate money every month towards, a marketing and SEO budget. And after a couple of years of that, that's really paid dividends at this point, compared to spending, a couple $1,000s a month on Google Ads that as soon as you turned off, the leads were gone. So
makes sense. And whenever you decided to buy the dump truck, that seemed like you leveled up, and then the next real big level up sounds like whenever you decided to invest in your online infrastructure, specifically your website and SEO. And at that time, you probably started to track all these things like return on investment and your investment into that website.
Yeah, those were definitely some pivotal moments. I mean, many different purchases along the way, but it, points where it clicked that, we're going to take this part of our business to the next level. The equipment game and the different things that we had, it was like, okay, we're going to invest in this. We're here for the long term. We're going to buy these things. And the marketing point, at one point, it clicked to me that this is, the way to invest in our marketing in the future. And, that's where we're going to try to steer more of that. Along the way, we've always done simple background marketing things, print ads, flyers. I've always been really into flyers, putting flyers on people's doors, going door to door. When I was in high school, we printed up a bunch of flyers and put one at every house in our neighborhood and in different school districts. And over the years, even still today, 15 years into this, we've passed out flyers every year. This year, we've already passed out over 15,000 flyers in the past 2 months. We got about 5 people out there doing flyers, people that are looking for just a part-time job or little things here or there. There's a couple of ladies that are teachers that do it in the summer. There's a guy that retired that he's been doing it now, and people that want to get paid to walk around outside. And so it works for some people.
So you got like a little door-to-door crew.
Exactly. And I get some places you need permits, some places you don't. I have a map of the city. Every place we passed out flyers, and so every year we pass out flyers the same places, and I try to find a couple new ones. If we're doing a job in a neighborhood in a couple weeks, I'll have my flyer guys go and hit the flyers there, or right after a big job. Try to think about some of the timing on stuff like that. Anything you can do to just keep your name in these people's minds, I always thought was big. I have people I've done estimates for where we've given the lady a flyer every year for 12 years in a row, and she comes outside and she has them all in her hands, and she's like, I have this coupon from when you were a kid and you passed out flyers. And I'm like, there's no expiration date on that coupon. I guess it's still good. But people come outside with that. And that's what really makes you realize, like, while they didn't call the first year, they might call 10 years later from that flyer. And, it's the value's there.
Oh, that's awesome. I love the story of the lady coming with the flyer from high school with the coupon. That's so funny.
Yeah, I see it all.
Yeah, and I mean, there's you have, I think, 185 5-star reviews. I want to give you a shout out for that. Not easy to do, especially with, it's not like your business is a startup or new, but I want to say I've spoke with people in your industry all across the country, and there's businesses that have been around 50 years or more, and sometimes they have 50 reviews. So you're going to be closing in on 200 reviews here pretty soon, hopefully before summer even kicks off. So
definitely the goal. In our area, we are one of the highest ranked landscapers in the area. There's one other landscaper in all of Pittsburgh that has more Google reviews than us. I always
we won't even say their name.
We won't even say their name. Who knows how long they'll be number one for? But there really is only one. There was a lot of time in the beginning of this, 7-8 years ago when I first started, nobody was trying to get Google reviews. And it almost seemed silly to me when I was asking people for this Google review, and they're our third Google review. It's like, well, what difference does this really make? Well, 10 years later, 185 Google reviews, it made a difference. Yeah. And in the beginning, the first year I probably only got 2 or 3, and then I got 3 or 4. Every year it grew. I think last year I got 30 or 40. And, it was just like a consistent effort and just working it into conversation. And, after you finish a job, we always ask people for a Google review. If somebody emails me to thank me for how good the job went or how happy they were, I just work it into the reply. I'm so happy you're happy, but could you please give me a Google review? And, that organic way of, conversationally bringing it up to people, that really works well. And then I also found that as we started to get more Google reviews and customers were hiring us based on our reviews, those people were more likely to also give you a review. Like the review people then want to give you a review. And so it really just starts to, like be a machine that feeds itself of getting you the reviews. And just asking everybody that you do a job for at the end in a real simple way. I've never had to do like a gift card drawing or any of the things where you see people sort of incentivizing it. And those things definitely could work. But I think that just being conversational about it in a genuine way, also will yield results. And also doing a good enough job that people will give you the review. Yeah. And that can't be taken for granted. You can ask people as many times as you want, but if your guys are doing a bad job and you're selling products that are not good, you're not going to get good reviews. And if you don't fix the problems that come up, your reviews are going to be bad. I always tell my guys, how we fix the small problems that come up in one way or another represents who we are just as well as all the big projects that we do. Like how you address those little things, that's as much of your image as everything else that we do too. So it helps you keep the 5 stars.
Yeah, the 5-star reviews are epic. Great, like I said, great work. I had a question about the flyers that you're doing. With me asking questions around you taking your SEO and marketing seriously when you got your website redesigned. How about the flyers? Are you using different tracking phone numbers and different tracking QR codes so you know where the results are coming from, based on the person or area or specific flyer you're handing out? Any split testing? Kind of curious how advanced you're going.
We are not that advanced in the flyers, but what we did start doing in that regard a little bit last season for the first time was we tracked every lead that came in, where it came from, what source, so we could rank our advertising spend on what was working and what wasn't. So, every lead I know, they got a flyer, they didn't get a flyer, but we're not testing multiple versions of the flyer like an A and a B. It was more of just an economies of scale thing. When you're ordering 20,000 flyers, I was trying to get the 20,000 discount as opposed to trying to split them. And then even truthfully, the aspect of organizing the flyers is only so much I want to put my hands on in that, just because there's only so many hours in the day. So I've always been kind of just grateful to get them out. But we just started tracking a little more of the result with that. We did think about doing the QR code a little bit this year. I was disappointed with the QR code results from a mailer I had done. I had sent out 10,000 mailers and nobody scanned the QR code. People just called. It was a little disappointing that the engagement using the QR code wasn't there. But I definitely think that's something we'd like to consider to use again in the future.
Yeah, makes sense. Definitely a mixed bag on, where the juice is worth the squeeze on some of these tracking elements. And when we talk about things like, the minimum order quantity for the pricing to get something that is really cost effective versus, having several variations and then you can't hit the MOQs to get these big bulk discounts. So I get it for sure.
And then all that, and these people are reporting stuff to you, and it's like, how many things do you want to be in charge of? When you're an entrepreneur wearing all the hats, one of the things that at times I think is important is to keep it simple. At times I see people that are overcomplicating a simple part of their company, and it's not producing additional revenue. Where people who get so caught up on things early on when in reality they really need to focus on generating work and doing the simple things that their company does. If the first year you get started cutting people's grass in high school, you're already out there trying to build an app and a customer portal and all these things for your service. That's great, but you should have just probably cut a couple more lawns at this point of your business. And sometimes people get a little bit ahead of themselves or find a way to really overcomplicate something, and you only have so much time as an entrepreneur, so it's always a battle.
Yeah, it sounds like you did run a test with the QR code via the mail. You got your feedback, so you don't have different flyers you're passing out, that's, you definitely did run a split test. So I'd say that is, pretty advanced that you already tried that out too. So thanks for sharing that insight there. The next topic I feel would be fun to touch on is, like, right now, what's it look like to work with you? What kind of jobs are you most excited to do? How far out are you booking? Your availability, kind of wherever you'd like to start there.
Yeah, we're always getting ready to go here in the spring. As things warm up, starting to get some good stuff to fill up the schedule. This time of year, we do a lot of standard landscape stuff, getting houses ready for mulch, doing some planting, plant refresh, maybe ripping out some old bushes, getting new bushes in there, updating people's landscape. We do a lot of lawn repair from the summer heat that came through last season. We're seeing a lot of damaged lawns through whether the drought or other pests like grubs or worms, different things that are causing damages to people's lawn. Out there kind of getting ready to fix a lot of that. The grass planting window is about to open up in the next couple of weeks. And so we'll really be out there doing a lot of planting grass, planting plants, everything as it starts to warm up. And then we have another part of our business that's out there doing bigger landscape projects. That's, Versalock retaining walls and paver patios, building people outdoor living areas and fire pits and things like that for the summer to enjoy. Those are kind of the bigger projects that we do. And we do a lot of those year round. Those kind of things, we're normally booked out anywhere from 1 to 3 months, depending on the time of year. The landscape stuff, I normally try to keep it about under a month. Sometimes at the peak, it gets a smidge over a month. We were never people that really were looking to book out work months and months in advance, because I find that, people are calling to look for a project and they want it done within a reasonable time. On bigger projects, people will wait a little bit, but if you're calling somebody to get your mulch done and they tell you it's going to be 3 months, they're going to call somebody else. And so we like to make sure that we have the capacity and the room on our schedule to service people in a timely manner, because otherwise, what's the point of going to these jobs and bidding these jobs and then losing out on them because your timeline is unrealistic for their expectations. Yeah. So you battle a lot of that this time of year as a landscaper, of people who want it all right now, and it's a busy time of year, and just starting to sell your work so that what you have come in and over the coming months, and fill your schedule accordingly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. People like, I call it a lot of times speed to lead. If someone gets in touch with us, we at least want to get back to them, letting them know they're heard and what the next steps are going to be. Similarly, when they decide to move forward with a project, people are excited about the project usually, especially if they're making an investment in it. And your photos and the work that you're doing, I can understand people being willing to wait. Everything looks awesome, your presentation online. And even I'm curious about the photos. It's definitely not the easiest to get all these high quality photos of jobs you're doing. I mean, you have to deal with the elements and the lighting and all these things. So what was that like for you to get all these really high quality photos of your jobs?
Yeah, that is a lot of work, and people really underestimate about the timing of day that you show up, and the lighting, and whether or not there's debris on your patio, and the timing of after you complete a job, when do you take the picture. It's kind of an ongoing thing. Most big jobs we do that are photo worthy, I typically have to go a couple times to get the right shots, the right combination of shots. We have a drone that I bought a couple years ago. That was a big improvement of our content game. All the pictures look a lot better. The videos that we're able to put out, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 years ago I bought that drone, and it was definitely a good investment, just with the quality of content we've been able to get on our own. Especially when you're doing a big job at a big house, taking a picture on your iPhone at the end of it, it's never going to do it justice. And just the professionalism of a drone shot at the end is unmatched compared to somebody's iPhone. And having a website full of drone shots that look like every one of them was professionally photographed. It definitely adds up. It's just an ongoing thing of, you're not going to get a magazine quality photo from every job, but knowing that you are out there and what kind of photos you're looking for, and just trying to develop an eye for, what time of day to show up and how long to wait until after we complete the job to go. That's kind of all plays into it.
Yeah. So if you want to see what I'm talking about, head over to the Q&A, QAlandscaping.com. And then their Instagram as well. You can check out the photos there. Lots of the drone shots. I highly recommend checking out the photos. The hardscape work you're talking about. So I'm throwing out that term. I hear that referenced. I hear that is how a lot of people are referencing these retaining walls and patio spaces and fire pits and stuff like that. Is that a term you guys use, or you feel like your clients or leads are using when they call in for that kind of work, hardscape?
Yeah, I think that in the industry, it's a commonly used term. I think for the customer, I wouldn't say that everybody is using it. There's still plenty of people who are calling and, just asking for a cement patio, which, isn't the way I would describe it, but it is you run into the customer doesn't always know the exact terminology for what they're looking for. They're asking for flagstone or different natural elements, and in the end, they want pavers. It really helps to just have a good website and good marketing brochures to go to the estimate with, to show them, this is this product, is this what you're talking about, different things like that, to really be able to show and tell and kind of associate what the customer is asking for with a job you've already done, so that they can match that up and manage their expectations, see what they could have. Yeah.
That's really cool. Do you have anyone calling in asking for things now around trying to create trying to plant more trees or anything that produce fruits, or is that becoming more common in your area? So I'm based out of Phoenix, Arizona, and I have a buddy. He has a landscaping maintenance company, and he built a food forest in his house. And then I looked into it a little bit, and I'm like, what? Not in his house, around his house. So he wanted to prioritize planting things that produced fruit. Is that something that's going on in Pennsylvania much, or in Pittsburgh, where people are wanting fruiting plants and things like that installed? And can you help them with that?
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a sustainability movement out there. People that are looking to create gardens, vegetable gardens for them to grow. The thing that we battle in Pittsburgh specifically is the deer. All of these things that you'd want to plant, the deer want to come and eat them. So when people need my help, they need help creating an enclosure around a raised bed garden or something. They're looking for a little bit of a fence around a nice garden area that they have. That's typically kind of the logical progression of that. People kind of build the garden, they realize the deer are eating all this stuff, then they have somebody come put a little enclosure around it. We've got involved with a few of that. A bigger movement that I think is coming in, even on maybe a national scale, is a little bit of more of the native plants, pollinator plants, less of a manicured lawn and more of a natural meadow movement, things like that. It's not very common yet, but we're seeing more and more people who are interested in allocating a small space within their garden or within their landscape beds for a natural pollinator garden, things like that. Cool. The idea of planting stuff that does well in your area, obviously your native plants are going to vary based on where you are, but stuff that's going to do well in your area, that's going to be supporting the animals and bugs and the bees and all the different elements of nature, and getting to kind of see that connect itself and in your home. It's a cool movement, and it's also a low maintenance movement where instead of paying somebody to come fertilize your lawn and keep the weeds out and then paying somebody to come and cut your lawn every week, you would be planting stuff that is going to stay for years to come, that isn't going to require that kind of maintenance, that'll just go through its natural growing seasons. And it's something that I think we'll see more of during this coming years of people focusing more on the climate and what is a little bit more environmentally friendly and less chemical based.
Yeah, you mentioned the less chemical based thing. With you bringing up people, I'm going to refer to it as native grasses, or native. What the term you used? You used
perennials, native plants, perennial flowers. Those are kind of like your small leafy flowers that you would find in the garden. Not necessarily your established big shrubs, but kind of the little stuff on the ground.
Yeah. So I'm starting to see a lot of people that are, let's just say my parents' age, in their 60s, start to ask questions around things that 10 years ago they were, turning their nose up to, like glyphosate and all these like chemicals, right? It's on the news, lawsuit, glyphosate, like watch out. So all of a sudden, the generation that's like my parents' age are even becoming aware of this. So I know people my age and younger are all kind of more in tune with this, but are you having people ask questions around that too, or is that a service you're able to advise on and help people with?
Yeah, for sure. I do run into a lot of people that are concerned about the use of chemicals now that they're seeing it on the news. Like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head. 10 years ago, nobody was worried about Roundup in their gardens and Roundup here. And, all of a sudden it came out that it was causing cancer, as, it did in the news. And
allegedly. Yeah, but we got to watch.
Allegedly.
YouTube might ban us here.
This is an alleged allegation. But those kind of things did scare people into asking the right questions and into being concerned about it, into promoting the usage of chemicals safely, and just being mindful that there was chemicals applied in their yard and that they're gonna stay out of the yard this evening because of that. We're not seeing people run away from it. I'm just seeing people be aware of it. I do see more often people with dogs worried about people treating their lawn. We don't provide lawn fertilization and treatments, but I do hear from that a lot of our customers that they have a lot of weeds because they didn't want somebody to treat their lawn because of their pet and things like that, understandably so. I think that over the coming years we'll see more green alternatives enter the market. Yeah. But right now, none of them are as effective as the chemicals, unfortunately. Yeah. And so it's not as quick to pick up the adoption that you would hope.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad we touched on some of that stuff. I feel like also that the people who are moving beyond just the aesthetic and they're putting that extra care into, the environment or native plants and things like that. It's oftentimes like a higher end job. So, that's just my perspective. Is that so? That's leading into my next question here. We touched on your story, kind of how you got started, some of those, clicking points, getting a truck, getting a new website, and then we transitioned into kind of the services you're offering now, what's going on. But I wanted to ask you about other advertising efforts. So is that, you mentioned investing in the SEO aspect of things. How about advertising? Is that something that you enjoy, or is that something that you kind of do seasonally when you have to? Just kind of wanted to hear what advice you could provide to people in the industry who want to start their own business, or looking for insight from someone who's already been on the journey. I feel like with your experience, you could be looked at as an industry leader, a thought leader, and in today's age, educating is a way to garner a lot of attention online and have people looking at you as an authority in the industry. So kind of curious what your stance is there on navigating the advertising in such a seasonal business.
Yeah, the advertising is definitely an important aspect, and knowing when to advertise so that you get leads when you need them. When we were starting up, I was advertising all the time. I was especially advertising in the spring, but then I would kind of find that I almost got so overwhelmed with the work that we would tone back off the advertising, and then you maybe didn't have as much advertising for later in the season when you needed it. And as we got better at this over the years, and I was able to stand back and look at it at the end of each year, I realized, I really need to maybe hold back some of the advertising effort during that peak season and save it to apply during the rest of the season so that we can then continue to get leads when we need them. And the way I always viewed advertising in our business was, the seasonality of it, you're going to have huge peaks in demand, and it's your job to advertise to try to even out some of those peaks. So naturally, everybody's going to call you for the mulch in the early part of the season, and you want to then start to try to fill the later part of the season. So make sure you turn your ads on, you pass out flyers, you do a little bit more as the demand starts to taper down to kind of, keep that bolstered up. And over the years, as we've got better at this and more recurring customers come back, the bulk of my advertising effort is to fill, the late summer, the July and August, where almost nobody is really trying to do new planting and new things, or if they are, they're a little bit late. And then kind of the winter, so that we have walls to do through the season when it's too cold and different things like that. And, all of my efforts are kind of around just picking up the work in those slow periods, but then also having a good enough background advertising that we're always in people's minds through the big periods.
Yep.
And,
that makes sense.
we do that through different avenues, and being able to instantly apply that effort. SEO wasn't something that is like an instant thing. It was a long game. Every month we're doing that same effort year after year, and it's not like 1 month I can try a whole lot more and all of a sudden I'm going to get more leads the next month, really. It's more of a continuous effort thing. But then for Google LSA or Facebook ads or any type of paid ad that you can instantly click a button and put money to get your ad out there, then those are kind of nice to instantly pick up when you need them. Or I order some flyers and I know that we'll send them out there and, the month before that I'm looking for the work. But kind of just really timing your advertising in a way that is going to make sense, and every year looking at it. The biggest thing we did last year was tracked every lead that came through. And by the end of the year, it painted a really good picture that we were spending tens of thousands of dollars on some things that weren't yielding the best results. We ran a billboard campaign last year for the first time, and I would have thought that people were going to call from the billboard, but in the end, over the hundreds and hundreds of leads I tracked last season, not one person identified the billboard as the primary reason in which they called. And while somebody might have saw it and it was a background thing, the $9,000 I spent on billboards did not drive $1 of business, and that was an easy way to get rid of that this season. And, making your decisions like that and realizing that, 60% of customers are returning customers, and just really focusing on reaching out to your returning customers and generating a good mailer list and an email blog and really capturing your returning customers that are a free lead that already trust you and different things like that. It was good to see the story that it was telling, and it also enabled you to see the lead flow for the year because you're tracking it by year. And just, year over year in a business, all that data really helps you make smart, strong decisions that yield good results.
Definitely. Thanks for being so generous with the advice to our audience there. I share the sentiment that you have there. The website and SEO effort, I like to equate it to farming. And, there can be advertising efforts that are year-round kind of like a billboard or something like that. But for both small, medium-sized businesses, most of the advertising spend is what I would equate to more like hunting. So the website and SEO, you're farming, you're doing it all year. There's something every day, week over week, day over day, month over month. And then the ads, treating them a little bit more like, I love the way you put it, getting rid of some of those peaks or kind of reducing the volatility there.
The smoothing of the revenue. That's what they teach you in college. That's where I met your friend Tanner. So
yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah, Tanner. Similarly, it's funny. So my background's in accounting as well. So with all the marketing I do, I'm more of the numbers focused, return on investment. That's why I'm asking you about tracking. I'm asking you about what you're having fun with there. And then I do got an eye for good work. So when I saw your website, it was beautiful. It wasn't just like, oh, he's got this great SEO website. It's like, oh wow, he's providing actual information that is going to help the consumer. And then also he has great examples of his work. So the accounting background, I'm sure, helps you in your business managing all these things as it serves me in the marketing business here. I got a new segment in the show I'm going to add in. It is there's this guy, most people know him, Joe Rogan, and he's got Jamie, who he asks stuff and pulls things up. I have my wife Jana, so Jana, new segment of the show. She's listening in. Sometimes I hang up and she says like, "Hey, you should have asked this. Like, I had this question over there. Do you have anything I missed on from the peanut gallery?"
I think that you guys are doing a really good job and covering really great information.
Awesome. Well,
it's on brand and yeah.
Appreciate you.
Oh, you know what? Actually, let's talk about some of the biggest changes you've seen in 2025 for your marketing strategy and your approach, and some of the things that you've tried in the past that have been total duds.
All right. He said the billboard. So the last question from Jana. So you shared with us the billboard was a dud for you. How do you see the industry that you're in changing, evolving? What's your predictions for the future? We talked about native plants. We've talked about some of these things, but what are you most excited about? What do you see changing in 2025 from the business and consumer perspective?
Yeah, I think 2025 we just continue to see consumers online research grow as they're making decisions. There's just so many different platforms out there for them to look at. They want to see your website, they want to see your Facebook, they want to see your Instagram, and it doesn't just stop there. They want to see what else you've done in the neighborhood and different things like that. But people are really able to do good research into the contractors they're bringing into their home as the consumers that are of decision-making, purchasing age are becoming more and more in touch with websites and social media. I'm seeing more and more of that. When I first started to do this, the idea that a customer was going to find us on Instagram and book their $40,000 patio on that, they weren't of that age really yet, so it didn't make sense. But over the past couple of years, our average customer is starting to be on Instagram. They are starting to, be a little bit more in touch with the social media. And I just think that every year there's more and more of that. There's, even people who you would think are maybe a little bit on the older side of your customer that are finding you on Facebook and looking you up further online. And I think it's just a good reminder to people that you want to have a good, well-rounded profile. Be able to be a complete choice.
Totally. And while you're saying that, I realized also it's not just the older generation, like my parents' generation, getting online. It's also that I got some gray in my beard now here and there that I find, and I am that of that demographic now that's making some of these purchases and these decisions. So it's not just the older generation getting more adopted to tech. It's me also aging and pretty soon, my little brother, who's 16 years younger than me, is gonna eventually be in my shoes, and who knows what tech's like by then, 15 years from now, with the advent of AI and all this stuff. I had a blast on today's episode, and I know I passed it off to my wife, Jana, for a little news segment there to get one more question. I want to leave it off to you. If there's anything you want to touch on or share, if you have any incentives or offers right now for either your potential customers or even if you're hiring this time of year, any PSA?
Yeah, I guess my closing note would just be that, like, I always thought marketing was something that, you just wanted to consistently do day after day and build a portfolio of, your jobs over the years. And it kind of starts slow, but every year it builds on, and, last year's efforts are still able to produce results year over year. And it's just a consistent thing, little by little, just keep doing it.
Awesome. Well, we got Quinten from Q&A Landscaping. Really appreciate having you on, and y'all know where to find them. QAlandscaping.com, correct?
Yeah, QAlandscaping.com. Follow us on Instagram. I'm pretty active on Instagram, trying to post stories and engage with people that message us about anything. Find Instagram to be a good platform to get to know your audience.
Awesome. Thanks, Quinten.
Thank you. Have a good